Hello everyone, and welcome to Pauper on Magic the Gathering Arena. If you're new to Pauper, Pauper on Magic the Gathering Arena is slightly different than real Pauper, so I want to cover that first. So Pauper is a format where you can play any card that's ever been printed in the common slot. However, you cannot play any rares or any uncommons unless that card has been printed in the uncommon slot. A good example of this is Makeshift Munitions. So it was printed as an uncommon in Ixalan, but later was printed in a Commander's Master set as common. So you can play Makeshift Munitions in your deck, even if it shows uncommon. We, or people in the Pauper community, know that this is a common. You can still play the card even if it has that symbol, because the card is legal. So there are also some common cards that were reprinted as uncommons. You can still play those in Pauper because they were once printed as a common. So that's what Pauper is. However, how Pauper differs on MTGA, so Magic the Gathering Arena, than Magic the Gathering Online or in paper is on Magic the Gathering Arena, you are limited by what cards are actually on the platform. So Magic the Gathering Arena does not have every single card ever printed. It has a very curated list. So that's why it's different. So this is Vintage Pauper. What is Standard Pauper? So Standard Pauper is what we're going to see also, probably in the next episode, a format where you can only play cards that are legal in the Standard set. So it's basically any card you can play in Standard, but then only commons. But anyway, we'll talk about that when we get there. So what are we playing here? So this is Rakdos Madness. Why did we pick Rakdos Madness? Almost simply because it has been unaffected by the MTGA limitations. Basically, all the cards in the list are on Magic the Gathering Arena. So that's really strong for us. So that's one of the reasons. And two, it's just a really good deck. It has card advantage. It has pseudo tempo. We're not really a tempo deck, but we're not super slow. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. So what are we trying to do? Well, the effect we're really taking advantage of is this madness mechanic. So if you're not aware of madness, madness says if you discarded this card, discard it into exile, and when you do, you can cast it for its madness cost. So we're taking advantage of this by using cards that draw cards and discard cards. So what we're doing is we can play Faithless Looting for 1 mana, draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards with madness, and cast them. So what we're essentially doing is we're drawing 2 and casting 2 cards. So the card advantage is obvious. We're basically discarding a lightning bolt and still casting it. So Fire Temper, obviously madness is just 1 red, and you can deal 3 to any target. Well, that's the same as lightning bolt. So really, really powerful combinations. So our madness cards are Kitchen Imp. It's a 2/2 with madness for 1 black, and it has haste. So it's probably our most powerful card. Along with Kitchen Imp and Sneaky Snacker, that's going to give us the reach to win the majority of our games. We're probably not going to win a lot of our games when we're not hitting with Kitchen Imp or Sneaky Snacker. However, if we can get our opponent down maybe about 10 life, so we can hit a few times with both of these creatures, we can use Alms of the Vein, Fire Temper, or Lightning Bolt to get that extra reach. Vampire Kiss can also get us a little bit of extra reach, as does Voldaren Epicure. All this adds up to, as we play cards, we're dealing damage. Almost all of our spells can deal damage as they resolve. So we resolve a Vampire Kiss, it deals 2. We get the 2 blood tokens, we can discard and deal further damage, or just so. We're always basically doing 2 things with every spell we cast, and that's why Madness is so strong. We have really good creature destruction in Terminal Agony. The reason I like this card so much is it saves your bolts effects, so we call these both bolt effects, for the phase. So if you're using this to destroy a creature, you have more bolts in your deck for that extra reach. So, okay. So, Kitchen Imp is obvious what it does. You play Madness, you attack, you swing face. Sneaky Snacker is a bit more sneaky, as the name would imply. So, if you look at the mana cost, it's a blue and a black. We are playing no blue mana. We cannot cast Sneaky Snacker. But what we can do is discard Sneaky Snacker. What Sneaky Snacker does is when you draw your third card in a turn, you return it from the graveyard to the battlefield. So both Highway Robbery and Demand Answers draw 2 cards, as well as Faceless Looting. The advantage of Demand Answers and Highway Robbery, though, is you discard the card as part of the cost. So you can directly discard a Sneaky Snacker, and it comes into the battlefield tapped, because you're discarding it as part of the cost, and then drawing 2 cards. So when you draw the second card, the Sneaky Snacker comes back. So, assuming you're playing this during your turn where you would have drawn 1 card already, the first card you draw on a turn. So, this can also work with Vampire Kiss with the 2 blood, or if you have 2 blood off of there in Epicure, or 1 and 1 in some fashion. If you have the mana for some reason, you could always discard the Sneaky Snacker first, and then use Faceless Looting for the second draw as well. It works either way. However, you cannot use Faceless Looting and discard Sneaky Snacker, because then you'll be drawing your 4th card for a turn, which wouldn't trigger it. It's only the 3rd card drawn in a turn. But anyway, Highway Robbery is really strong in the sense that it lets us plot. So it lets us exile the Highway Robbery for 2 mana and cast it on the future turn. The reason why this is so important is if we only have 2 mana, we cannot discard our Madness cards and still cast them, because we need mana open. So if we plot the Highway Robbery, we can cast on a future turn, and even if we have 2 mana, we can still cast 2 Madness spells. The reason why we're not playing 4 is Demand Answer is also really fun in that you can use it as an instant speed discard. Because the neat thing about Madness is it happens basically at instant speed. So even though Terminal Agony is a sorcery, you can cast it at instant speed if you've discarded it. This also works with Blood. So Blood works at instant speed. So you can discard a sorcery or a creature and cast it essentially at instant speed. So it's really, really strong. Even Alms of the Vein is also a sorcery. So all of our spells, except for Highway Robbery and Faithless Looting, are basically instant. So it's really, really strong. Sorry. But anyway, we're doing lots of stuff at instant speed, even though our cards aren't instant speed. And then we have a 1 to makeshift munitions. It's just to have the card, to have the ability to do 1 damage to a creature if we need to. So if we're against another Sneaky Snacker deck or something, we'd have that card just to do things. And sometimes if you have a bunch of blood, but nothing to discard, you can use them to do 1 damage to something. So it's just a 1-of card that's really strong. So, other than our Madness cards, Vampire Kiss, as I mentioned, does damage. So does Voldare and Epicure. Voldare and Epicure basically helps us 3 times. It deals a damage when it enters, it creates a blood, and it's a 1/1 creature, so it can actually hit quite often. We have 4 Jagged Barons, again, just to get that little extra damage. Sometimes you just need 1 damage or 2 damage. Or getting an extra 1 or 2 damage in just from lands can be strong. And if you look at our deck, we have a lot of red and black. So we're really needing the 2 colors. So these are really important, but coming into play tapped really hurts us as well. So yeah, so that's the deck. Now let's look at the sideboard. So as we mentioned, our main deck isn't hit that hard by MTGA restrictions. The sideboard is. If you play this deck on Magic the Gathering Online or in paper, you're going to have a totally different sideboard. However, we're going to make do with what we have on Magic the Gathering Arena. So, graveyard decks are very popular in Pauper. In a way, we're also a graveyard deck because we have Sneaky Snackers. So, Relic is one of the best graveyard hate cards. It can exile cards one a turn as its effect, but you can also exile it to move every card in their graveyard. So really strong. We don't need 4 because we're drawing so many cards, we're seeing so many cards, and our deck gets implicitly weaker if we sideboard out basically anything. Because we need lots of discard to fuel our stuff, and we need lots of draw. Because we're discarding cards, we're not always going to be discarding madness cards. So if we discard cards that aren't madness cards, we need to refill our hands somehow. Also, lands are very dead draws for us after we have about 3 or 4 lands. So we don't want more dead draws. Okay. We have Cast into Fire. Artifacts are a big problem for us. So we can deal with creatures. We have lots of stuff to deal with creatures. We cannot deal with pesky artifacts. So we need ways to deal with artifacts. Some artifacts are indestructible, so we have exile, and sometimes they have a leave play effect. Also, exile is good for that. So we have 3 Cast into Fire. I actually think Gearbane Orangutan is really strong for Magic the Gathering Arena, because if an opponent is playing lots of flyers, getting a 4/4 with reach might be able to shut down their strategy. Gearbane Orangutan also destroys artifacts for 1 more mana. So having that 2/2 body that destroys artifact is really strong. Also, if you know this deck, it doesn't do much on 1 mana. So if we're playing Cast and Fire, that's probably the only spell we're going to play for the whole turn. We may as well get a 2/2 body along with it. And then again, that's giving us damage. We always want lots of damage. For go wide decks, or decks that are playing a lot of creatures, we have Breath Weapon. I don't know if we'd really side in Breath Weapon a lot, because if you look, Breath Weapon also destroys all of our creatures. We literally have no creatures that survive Breath Weapon, but if we need to really clear the board, it's a card we can use. And then we have Duress. So, Duress, this is just a universally good card. If there's one card we really want to remove from our opponent, Duress is going to let us do that. So anyway, I think this has gone on long enough. Enjoy the games. Hello everyone, and welcome back to more Vintage Pauper. So we have our Madness deck here we've been playing. And we'll see what we draw. An absolutely garbage hand. So unfortunately we had to mulligan. Another garbage hand, but unfortunately we'll have to keep. I think we dropped the bridge. Because this is at least something we could discard. So we can plot. We can just go ahead. We haven't plotted our highlight robbery yet. I haven't showed you that, but you can plot it, and then you can actually discard, and we can discard Eternal Agony and play the Madness, or the Fire Temper, whatever we want. It's not super great, but if you need the mana, and that's why I put in the bridge on the bottom, because we can do stuff with highway robbery. So the opponent is mulliganing to 5, so at least that's good for us. After we mulligan to 6. Mulligan 5 is obviously a lot worse. Yeah, well, drawing a bridge is fine, because we're not doing anything on 2 anyway. Okay, so Wellspring decks, so it's good to know now. We don't have a spell we want to discard, so we're just going to plot. So yeah, if you're not aware of how plotting works, you plot a card, so you pay the mana cost, then you cast it later on. So we're doing this so that we can cast one of our spells. So he's going to draw 3 cards here. So he gets 1 from the Wellspring, 2 from the Dispute, and also a treasure. That's why Deadly Dispute is so good. And another Wellspring, sacking the treasure. He's just cycling through. So he has to do something at some point. I think we just plot another highway robbery. Or do we... So we can discard the fire temper, but I feel like we can do that later on as well. So, like, I think he has to cast something eventually, and most drops are 3 drops, so I don't think it's good to fire temper his face here. I have been really unimpressed with trying to burn opponents out with madness. Oof, that's a card. And then now we're really happy we didn't burn his face. Because we're not going to race Lembas. It's really hard to race Lembas without the creature, obviously. Next turn we probably do have to just burn his face because we need to do something eventually. But I guess we can just use demand answers though. And we can keep our highway robberies. Because this is a mana hungry deck, so we're happy to have spells we can cast for 0. And then we can really start madnessing stuff. Sure. So what is... I haven't seen this Break the Wilds. If a spell is bargained, target line... Okay. So it's... So it's permanently a... Okay. It's not till end of turn. So at least that gives us a target for our fiery temper. We're not going to bolt it because we're probably just going to demand answers fiery temper. There's an alms, but we don't need the alms. We're going to discard a card. It's going to be fire temper. We're going to cast it with madness. I doubt our opponent has a red buff spell. He only has red open, yeah, there we go. So that lets us draw 2. And then we didn't draw land, so we're just going to end turn. So next turn, technically we could double alms, but I don't really think that's getting us to... Actually, no, probably is the play. Just because we could still cast Epic here, even if we... This is, do you draw first? No, you discard, then you draw, but we can do it. Okay, so we're not discarding 2, sorry. I always think highway robbery is like, you discard 2, but you're only discarding 1. So did he play another one of those? Sorry, how did he get this land? Oh, it has indestructible, so I just did nothing. Well, that sucks. I just didn't realize it has indestructible. Okay, but we can pulse buff in that exiles artifacts. So that's good to realize now, actually. This is where alms is kind of bad. This is just destroy as well. So let's discard a card, alms. There's a faceless looting. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we draw 2, so if we... Just trying to think of how it works if we draw 2. I guess we're discarding, so we're drawing 2, discarding 1. I think we just still highway robbery again, because we're going to be playing the land and the Epicure, so it will net out. Yeah, we definitely want to. We only have 1 spell. I haven't seen this. Yeah, indestructible. Like, I know the land is indestructible, but I've never seen turn into a creature kind of thing. That's very interesting. That's cool. It's a cool kind of thing. Yeah, that's a cool, really cool idea. And you're using the wellsprings as the bargain fuel. So and then he has the red black and the red green lands. And visionaries. Yeah, that's nice. He had lots of ways to draw through his deck here. Do we just bolt visionary? Well, we're gonna anything discard. Just mountain. If we faceless looting, we can terminal agony, but he's green, so I kind of want to save it for something else. So we can demand answers pitching the mountain. And then we just bolt the visionary. Attack for 1. Sure, I guess. Not what I wanted to see. I just I don't want to blindly loot. That's the problem. I guess next turn we do terminal agony. Just not going to be blocking the visionary is the thing. And yeah, that's 6, like, but I just find with Lambus, you're not ever as close as you think. And he's probably running even more Lambuses, so you're just not getting really. Do they pay to sacrifice? You do, yeah. Okay. So we can start exiling those as well if we want to. Yeah, it's really. Yeah. See, that's why we're saving the terminal agonies, because those guys are big. Yeah. Sacrifice an Icar Wellspring, draw 3 cards. Resolve and resolve. He's gonna have to discard down, yeah. So. Bolt me? Oh, because just rather cast it than discard it for sure. With you there. It's gonna cost me 3 mana to discard the Terminal Agony. So if I facelessly loot, I can still. Oh, now we just faceless loot it for sure. So Kitchen Imp, Terminal Agony. So that was really good. Just making sure I have enough black, which I do. Sure. Yeah. Really happy to decide to put those in main board, but I was just boarding them in every match. So it's like, if you're always boarding something in, you may as well just have it in. Okay, and we'll just end turn. So now, like, we're hitting, we got another 6 in hand. And then 3 on the board. Troll, sure. So he's trying to race me here, but he's just not going to get there doing that, just because we can faceless looting again, terminal agony, troll, and keep bashing. You just didn't have another Altasaur. Sure. Really? You're not bolting the Kitchen Imp. Oh, so this is even better. So yeah. So we face this. Rinse and repeat. I don't think that was correct. I think you definitely should have bolted the Kitchen Imp. Oops, sorry. Oof. Almost hit the wrong one. It's like, you really gotta be careful. Just because the art. If you look at the art, that's why I clicked on it. It's basically like the same art. So yeah, so we want to discard the Kitchen Imp to turn the Agame. We have the mana, so let's do it. I am putting the Kitchen Imp on the stack second. Just habit, just in case something happens. You want it to resolve after you destroy the creature. Just a good habit to have. Yeah, so then we can... And then we have game now. And we're gonna bolt him. He's gonna use Lambus, and then we still have 6 in hand plus whatever we have on board. Sure. Yeah. Sacrifice my Epicure. Sure. Now are you gonna Lambus or are you gonna save the Lambus? Sure. You always want to bolt on end step. You don't want to give him any more information than he's due. Plus attackers, you may as well attack for 3. Oh, because he has 2 mana up. Yep. Bolt you. Yeah. Oh, okay, we do 2 black. Black. I always have to make sure you have your mana up when you're playing this deck. So yeah. Madness. I don't know if I even want to have Exile land. It's just not very fast. So, just a way... Okay, so, like, we have Cast into Fire. It's 2 mana to exile an artifact. But I'd have to remove something. And I don't think he's... Like, anytime you sideboard in this deck, you basically slow yourself down. I think we're just happy with what we have. I don't think we want to add duress, so duress we could add. But again, we're weakening ourselves by doing that. So it'd probably be cutting a Vampire Kiss, but it gets still 2 damage, so I think it's better than duress. I think we're just happy there. So the bolts to the face are potentially useful here. It's just, we really need to find the Kitchen Imps. Oh, that's a disgusting hand, so we can't keep it, because we can't faithlessly loot. Yep, that's a better hand. Oh, I guess we just dropped the land again. We can't turn 1 Epicure, but I guess that is life. Having Snackers is, I think, good against him, because he has lots of bolts and stuff. So yeah, I think we'll actually play Highway Robbery. So again, Highway Robbery, you discard the card, and then you draw 2 cards, so it brings the Snacker back immediately, which is really sweet. So we're definitely, that was a really good draw for us. Storm count 1. Sure. Enjoy. Okay, so we're gonna cast it. We're gonna discard a card, making sure we're selecting the correct options. So the reason it looks weird is you draw one card, and on the second card you draw, the trigger goes on the stack. That's why it looks weird. So, yeah. So he bolts it, that's fine. We'll probably just Vampire Kiss here. Unless we draw 2. No, because we unfortunately can't. Don't have a third land. If we had a third land, we could Epicure, crack the blood, sacrifice the imp, but we don't have enough blood, so it is just Vampire Kiss. So we're a bit slow, but it is what it is. I think here we're just going to sacrifice. If we draw a land, we can drop 2 cards to get back the Kitchen Imp, but otherwise we're just gonna, to get the Sneaky Snacker back. But so the good thing is you can sacrifice 2 bloods to get back Sneaky Snacker, but we don't have the 3rd mana. Yep, you can swap cycle a troll. You have a lot of mana to be swamp cycling, but oh, he's probably getting a 2-color. No, he didn't even get a 2-colored land, so we really want a land here. Okay, making sure it's auto-tapping the right land. So, discard the Kitchen Imp. He could have a bolt here, but like we're not gonna not play Kitchen Imp just because we're worried he has a bolt. So we discard something, we get it back. I just don't really, now that we have something to discard, it feels bad to just discard something, but I think with Vampire Kiss in our hand, I don't really need the Epicure. I just want the Snacker back. Like, I do need to win this game at some point. And him throwing bolts for Snackers is really good for me. Sure. Oh, he's just going to return it. Okay. He basically needed a target for this because he didn't have a creature or land, so. There was an argument for Vampire Kissing there, and it probably was better, but I was hoping to hit something to really speed me up. Do we drop the land? Oh no, I guess we can Fire Temper him. I think that's fine. I think it's better than, like, I might want that land. So the argument is saving it, but I already have 3 bolts. So I really don't see myself needing it, and it's just... Also with the Terminal Agony. And also having a 4th land makes Terminal Agony so much better. Sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wouldn't it be, this would have been better to cast the Troll? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, he's 1 mana short. Yeah, because this is a tap land. This land came into play tap this turn. Okay, sure. No problem with that. Yeah, you may as well Limbus now. Looking for Limbus. This is good. Limbusize. So we have nothing madness. We don't want to flashbacks. You only generally want to flashback Faithless Looting when you have at least one thing. And here it's just more mana efficient to Vampire Kiss, because then we're setting up we need one for Terminal Agony next turn. Because we can't Faithless Looting and Terminal Agony in the same turn, so this gives us a blood to kill our Kitchen Imp and a blood to use Terminal Agony next turn. Yeah, and he doesn't even have a red up, so this is 4 damage. Kitchen Imp is just such a disgusting card. So this is awkward. Like, we could play the Jagged Barons. It does do a damage to our opponent, but I think we're better off sacrificing it to Faceless Looting. Yeah. I think we're better off to hold on to it. Yeah. Another Brave the Wilds, sure. I think this is game. So I sack a blood with the black, then use the bridge. It doesn't matter which way. Yeah, it doesn't matter which way the mana taps, because I need a black either way. It's probably not game immediately, but it's game just because I have the 3 bolts in hand. Okay. I think I do play the Jagged Barons now. Just for the 1 damage. And then it's just more bolts. Just bolt economy. Because we're gonna we need, this is 12. With the Faceless Looting, we can deal 12 next turn. Sure. We could BM him, but we'll just... no point put it... So if you want to BM, you could put Alms on the stack, then put Bolt on the stack, and then put Bolt on the stack as well. But I don't think that's very polite. So there you go. So that was our Madness game of Vintage Pauper. Thanks for coming out, guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Later.